consciously eating.
Another day, another video. This time it's a bit different. It will be no games. You can watch and listen to my beautiful voice and when I cast. No, this time we're gonna talk about the Pro League in general and yeah, how the teams fare so far. And we have actually a special guest today who will help me with the predictions and the analysis.
But who is the special guest consciously?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm waiting to see who the special guest is. It's obviously me. It's a Tano Circus. Surprise, everyone.
Yeah,
You
very
knew
good.
you knew it had to happen. I'm back like it's to the future.
Yeah.
Got the car zapped by lightning, and here I am again.
Yeah. Perfect. Nice to have you. So yeah, let's go over week 1. I would say. Were there any particular upsets for you, like something you didn't expect?
Sure. So this wasn't something that people have heard because the recording was sadly lost. But I actually predicted that Team Beatflitz would beat Team Nigat, but that Beatflitz would lose to Nigat. And watching that series just made me appreciate both of those players a lot more. So that was a surprising result. I had not pinned that Beatflitz would actually win 2-0. That was very impressive to me.
Yeah,
And
100%.
then also, I mean that matchup was just made of bangers. Just
Yeah.
not only because of the rivalry between the two, but also you get to see AC versus Happy. Game 1 of AC versus Happy, an amazing game to show. And then, frankly, we do have to talk about Team Weird Rat versus Team Square Root of -1.
But I'm a
It's-
bit
it's
afraid to talk about it, honestly.
Oh, okay.
It
Fair
was such
enough.
a destruction. It's so hard. I don't want to be mean to Weird Red or any player in this team, but
No,
so
no,
one-sided.
I did not. We were talking about what was surprising, right?
Yeah.
And I would have never guessed. Like, if I had $500,
Mhm.
none of it would have been put on the roulette table that leads to 14 points to 1. That just wouldn't have been one of the choices, right? So,
Very impressive.
So
Yeah, very
yes,
impressive.
very impressive result. So very surprising in a different way. So some amazing games for the first matchup, and almost a very surprising result in the final best of series between Weird Rat and Square Root.
Yeah, it's absolutely like I was actually very shocked, especially the Matthew versus Garitos. I was under the impression Matthew N would be on par with Garitos, but Garitos came just so prepared. And also Alberto, for me personally, he's the one I think when everyone was like, well, you have to look out. One guest in particular is very strong. So if you play guests, kind of expect this one player who's so good. And I was like, okay, that has to be Alberto, especially because Weird Red hinted that Alberto has some secret replays he's sending to Weird Red for some intel and analyzers and stuff. So I was kind of expecting to deliver. Like Alberto was in my world. Alberto was for me the one who really has to show. And actually, the games versus Gandhi were not as one-sided as it may look like, but Gandhi was a tiny bit better, I think. And just in decision making, everything else was pretty much on par. But decision making, man, Gandhi really took it home.
Probably the final surprising matchup, and I'm gonna make it fair. I'm gonna split it across a different matchup. Was Team Glaba versus Team Slammer 4, and the teams are coming up with their own unique names now. By the way, so maybe for week 2 we can even be like, and here's the logo of Team TD.
Yeah, I hope that everyone comes up with a logo, because right now only two teams have a logo, and I think only 3 teams have a name. So yeah, the other team leads have to follow, because if they don't, I don't like to have one team's very nicely set up and everything else is like, I don't care. So I would like to have everything coherent. So come up with nice names, guys, and then nice logos, and then we
maybe a fight song too, right? If you could make like an AMV that's just some mid-90s punk band playing over a song of all of your players, like flipping the people the bird, that would be great as well. But since we'll call them this for week 1, for
Yeah.
Team Glaba versus Team Slammer 4, like Glaba versus Slammer,
Yeah.
I actually thought that the games between Yummy Blah Blah and Guinness were very surprising. I got to watch those live.
Mm-hmm.
That was not an expected result. A 2-0 in Guinness's favor. I really expected more out of Yummy,
Mm.
be honest. I thought that there would be more showing up there. And then when you just see that the games, listen, I would never have pegged Yummy to cheese 2 games in a row and then get out cheesed in one of the games. Because
Yeah,
I
I mean,
hear the name Yummy Blah Blah, and I'm thinking of this great beast player, and I'm just seeing like, wait, you just
yeah. I know what
proxy
you mean.
2 rack,
I
you just
actually,
proxy your opponent to death.
yeah, I asked him if he has, I don't know, very short time or he's busy with work or something, and yeah, I don't know. I think he's just not in the mood yet. And then I was asking Glaba about what he thinks about Yami is doing and if he really thinks he can deliver in the next weeks because there will be a heavy and there will be an AC. Um, so
These are games
Yami
you have to
really,
carry against. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. You
really,
would think you would be, yeah.
yeah, he really needs to, I guess, step up his game or something. Yeah, and also, I mean, if you take a look at Glaba and his teammates, I think Yami and Glaba both really could really like Sato Kester and Zelos and even GN and the other guys. They could really show them some very nice tactics. I think Glaba in the second game versus Guy in chat, he showed a great cheese like a tower rush with workshop proxy, very interesting. And I think they should just show that to their players and just give them the build orders. And then, I mean, Sato Kester with his Raiders, Zelos in general with his StarCraft 2 senses. So they really would crush the other teams. So for me, Team Glaba is Team Cheese. I expect nothing else. So I was a bit surprised that Zelos was like, kind of, I don't know. So yeah, a bit
So
surprising.
Team Slammer versus Limburger. Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So this is important going into week 2, right? Like, because now we have
Absolute.
some expectations of the teams, right?
Yeah.
We've got Team Negat and Beatflitz. Like, Beatflitz is going to shit talk you, and all of his teammates are going to practice infinitely. Like, Haffy is online from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. every day, my time, available for games and theory crafting. I
Yeah.
see custom games from them all of the time. They're just a grindstone.
Yeah.
Negat kind of working on their identity. Team Glaba, the Cheesers. Team Slammer, okay, this we didn't get the week 1 recording, but I am pleasantly pleased, you might even say, to note that Slammer's team did beat Glava's team. I actually had a hard time predicting that one, but again, Slammer is my favorite for the entire event.
Oh,
And then
really?
again, Oh yeah, well we talked about that in the last one, but
Yeah.
for anyone who didn't hear about that, for reasons, I think Slammer's team has the most depth.
Yeah.
So I don't think that Team Slammer just wins the ace spot, the ace spot and the number 2 spot every time. I don't think that they're that kind of team. But what I do think they are is a team where if you look at their 3, 4, 5 players, you just think, holy hell, who do they have? They have B-Sherb as their 4th player. What? Like that's wild. The depth is crazy. So I actually think that they're going to be the best against the field. And then obviously we have Weird Rat versus Square Root of -1, and Weird Rat's team has a lot to prove. And Square Root of -1, his team also seems in the same. I called them Team StarCraft because of all of the experience from that game that the people have. All the masters and grandmasters coming from that game, but I think Square Root of -1 is the perfect kind of person to teach those people coming from a different RTS. So
Yes, and he put in
I'm
the work
really
in the
looking
week 1
forward.
already. So
Oh, 100%.
and since if you look at week 2, there are no team leaders seated. So nobody would play from the team leaders. But Beatflitz decided to take a wild card to switch places with Dash Dev. So he will play versus Alberto. I think he's very confident, especially after week 1 beating Negat, who's supposedly stronger than Alberto. So I think Beatflitz doing a really smart call here, not risking losing a map and kind of getting a safe win. But I think you should never underestimate someone. So maybe Alberto will take a map of Beatflitz. But my point is that we have no other team leads playing this week, meaning that the team leads now can focus on training their players and having a week where they can just get them more build
coach,
orders. Yeah, getting on the real role of a coach. Yeah, exactly. And I really looking forward to week 2 because I can imagine Team Square Root, for example, losing this one versus Slammer.
Yes. So let's get into the first one you mentioned, which is Beatflitz versus Weird Rat.
Mhm.
The problem is that before the swap for Der Steff, I was gonna say that, Weird Rat, their team has some chances. Like, I don't know how Mo does against Melon, but there's a chance there. I think Joshers is just better than Jawsome,
Yeah.
and I think ItzJ is better than Speedy Bozar. But, El Barto versus Der Steff is doable, and Matthew N versus Haffy, it's like, well, get the replay and maybe we can do something with that next time. Haffy is almost overpowered.
Yeah.
And some of these other players are too, that
Yeah.
are the one seed who could have themselves been team leads. So that's going to be really rough on team. But that's actually to the benefit of Team Beatflitz, because if you think about it, Team Beatflitz is actually another Slammer style team where they have good depth.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't want to say. I don't know. I suspect that Beatflitz is the second or third worst player on their own team. Right? Which, that's not a diss. That's to show how excellent they were at picking their team.
Yeah,
But
drafting was good.
right, but what that means is, but that's important because we're contrasting it to Team Weird Rat. Well, who's the strongest person on Team Weird Rat? It's Weird Rat. Like, there's not even a question. I don't think any of the other people that are on the team can actually stand up against Weird Rat or even take a game off of him.
Yeah, actually, I
barring,
was
like,
surprised to see
practice
no.
environments.
Yeah, I was surprised to see not more wildcards in this week, just because of the
Yes.
sole reason that they have, like, they kind of surrendering their points now, in my opinion. Because Team Weird Red, if you look at it, second seed is heavy for Team Leaflet. So I would expect Weird Red would take a wild card and switch places with Matthew N. Or I don't know, switch places with someone else just to get 2 more points in when Heavy takes like kind of guaranteed 2 points. And the same with Team Glaba and Team Nigat, that's fine because Yummy versus AC is okay. But Slammer, for example, could have switched himself for new type, for example. And Guinness versus Garitos, Guinness is favorite. Guy versus in Chat versus Gandhi is already played and Gandhi took it. So 3 points already surrendered. So Slammer
Kind of
really.
imagine that too, yes.
Yeah, so
Go on.
Slimmer should have really switched places with someone just to get the 3 points, but he didn't, and so did Square Root. Maybe it shows they are confident in their players. Also, I mean, I don't want to assume things, but Weird Red really, I expected him to switch himself in to go against Hefe, to not make it like 3 easy points for Team Beatflitz, or even switch places with Albardo or Sweetie Boza or literally anyone. So yeah,
I
I'm surprised.
actually think Speedy Bozar would have been the Omega play here, right? Because if it's Weird Rat against Toffee,
Yeah,
then
Hefe can win
that could
it.
be a 1-2. That could be a 1-2 both ways,
Yeah.
right? But if you switch with Speedy Bozar, then you take away the strength of ItzJ,
Yeah.
right? And you just say, listen, you favor the idea that Weird Rat can 2-0 ItzJ,
Yeah.
right? And then there's 3 points, and ItzJ's a really powerful part of this lineup. And all
Yeah.
of a sudden, it's like, Mo might beat Melon. Alberto probably would have beaten Der Steff if there hadn't been a wild card used. So you're trading wild card for wild card.
Mhm.
So that's not a bad idea either.
Yeah,
So
it's all about points now.
yeah. So I think it's a very curious decision by Weird Rat. I'm with you. Maybe they're saving them because I've noticed. Like you mentioned it, so let's skip over to Nigat versus Glaba.
Yeah.
Because Team Glaba has already used wild cards and had the most questions in tournament chat that I can tell
Yeah.
about wild cards, the rules for wild cards, how they can be used, how often they can be used, how many of them there
Yep.
are. And that speaks to maybe the team can't always be there or always be consistent. So it makes sense that Glaba's team isn't using, or Team Cheddar, as we want to now say, I suppose, aren't using the wild cards. But I'm with you on. I actually think it shows supreme confidence on this topic of wild cards for Square Root's team not to use it, right?
Yeah.
Because, as you were saying, surely Slammer just sends that for, I don't know, for a guy in chat or someone like that.
Yeah.
To try and, because it's not a question of lack of confidence in your player.
No.
It's more, we can upend what they think are 3 free points, and then we get the 3 points. So I love the wild card aspect because we're going to get to see, because the team leads have to use those, correct?
No, they are not. You can go with 5 unused wildcards the whole season. That's also possible. But
No, no,
they
no.
are.
What I mean is who decides who gets to use
Yeah,
wild
it's only
cards?
the team leaders. They let me know until the deadline, and then after the deadline, I can post the lineups because then they fix. But right now, for week 3, for example, they have time. They can just let me know what they want to do.
Well, what I like about that is this is also going to show us as the season goes on who uses wild cards effectively, because that's also a way for these people to show their strength, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like if you're very judicious on using wild cards and you don't use them all, and then you have to forfeit matches late in the season, or you don't get to the end of the season and then it's the final week and you have 4 wild cards left.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
There's
absolutely.
some interesting potential there, and basically any unused wild cards at the end of the tournament, it's like, okay,
I think
you
there
could
will
have
be no
used those
wildcards
though.
left. I think with the most uses we will see in week 4 and 5.
Okay.
I think there are some, like Square Root, for example, there are players or Slammer who will be very strategic about their wildcard uses. And Team Beatfits, for example, he's already going with the wildcards and already using them to his advantage. But he will be kind of left out in the open because he will have only 1 or 2 left for week 3, 4, and 5. And at some
Yes.
point, you are very predictable. And then you go into you
You get
kind of run
punished
into
in the end.
traps.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yes.
I think right now it's smart from Team Square Root and Slammer to not use wildcards. Even Niget and Glaber, there was no intention or no need to use them. But really, Weird Red maybe, yeah, would have been nice for him to play this week, maybe. But hey, maybe he has a plan and we just don't know it and see it. So be it. Maybe Albardo takes a map and then we are shutting up because Weird Red knows better. So yeah, really looking forward to the
Yes.
next map.
Yes. I was actually going to praise Beatflitz on this, is that if you look at the rest of their schedule, his first week, Team Beatflitz fought Nigat,
Yeah,
and they won. I
yeah.
predicted they would win. Didn't predict how they would win. I already covered that. But they did win. I think if you're Beatflitz, you look at Team Weird Rat and you say, there is a chance, not a great one, but there is a chance that we clean sweep Weird Rat's team,
Oof, that would
right?
be heavy. Ooh,
No, that
ooh.
might be why, right? Like, because maybe their Steph does lose to Alberto,
Mm.
and then that means that Team Weird Rat gets 3 points, which means you don't get the clean sweep over your opponent. And maybe Melon loses to Mo, and all of a sudden you barely win against one of the teams that people think is the weakest team. So
Yeah,
I think that this is a really crushing move to get the wild card in for Beatflitz
yeah,
against El Barto.
yeah.
Now, that also means, however, that if El Barto wins a single game over Beatflitz, then even if Beatflitz wins 2-1, you would have to say it's a waste of a wild card.
Yeah,
Like
kind of.
you,
Yeah, kind of. I mean,
all
it's
right.
expected. There is, I think, the Beatflits versus Weird Red is another very heavy opponent for Team Weird Red in general.
Yes, yes, yes. It's gonna be interesting for them. Weirdly, I think Weird Rat will do better when they play against Slammer's team. Even though I think Weird Rat's team is the weakest and Slammer's is, in terms of
that
depth.
now you have to explain. That's something you really have to explain now.
Oh,
Why?
okay. So I think Weird Rat's team is the weakest, and I can't take credit for this insight. This was
Mm,
something that was posted up from the Twitch VODs from when the drafting was done.
mm,
But several teams looked at Weird Rat's team and said it was the weakest,
mm.
and then one of them, I forget who it was, made the insight that it looked like Weird Rat had just forgotten to pick their first pick, and they just started as if they were on their second pick
That was
and
Beatflits,
went down.
actually. Yeah, I remember.
Yes, yes. Because he made the point that, like, Matthew N is probably more on the level of Guy in chat. Like, look at who's across the field from them. If
Mm,
Matthew N was one down, they would be fighting Gandhi, Guy in chat,
mm,
Zelos, Salen.
mm.
Yeah, this seems like reasonable competition for Matthew.
Yeah,
Why you're sending Matthew against Haffy, Guinness, AC, like I don't know, Megaratos. That just seems like you're asking trying to put too much pain into people.
Yeah. But
And when
imagine
we
Matthew N
compare
winning. Like, imagine Matthew
well,
N winning. Holy moly.
mate, that would be so good. Yeah, any wins. This is another one that I think like again, any wins that Team Weird Rat gets is good, but I think Beat Flips did a great job in doing the swap. We might see. You know what? I'm a fan of bold predictions. Are you ready for this?
Okay, go
I
on.
don't think I don't think Team Weird Rat will win a single game this week.
Oh, that's a bit mean towards Team Weird Red, don't you think?
No, there's only one way that I could be wrong, right? Is I don't know the strength of Mo and Melon relative to each other,
Mm.
but I really want to say that to press in how dire this looks for Team Weird Rat. Like Team Weird Rat, even if Mo is way stronger than Melon and they get 3 points, they might be going into week 3 with 4 points.
That would so
And
painful.
if you
That would
say
be so painful.
yes, that feels like almost irrecoverable. But again, here's the thing. I've set my expectations that I think Team Weird Rat is the weakest team.
Yeah.
I've said before that if Weird Rat's team gets third, right? If Weird Rat's team gets fourth, then he's overperformed. He's done an amazing job. Like I don't know how he's done it. Actually, that's not even banter. That's just a
Yeah,
realistic assessment of the pieces that he has relative to the pieces
well,
other people have.
don't forget about the wildcards. With the
Yes.
wildcards, I mean, he could potentially, like, just for example,
Oh, Weird Rat himself is the strongest. Yeah, of
exactly,
course.
he could just shift himself in instead of Nikamo, for example, and then he chooses to switch around Jawsome and Matthew N. And here we go, 6 points for him, right? So he could really, with the wildcards, Weird Red can really do fuck up some lineups. And in the coming weeks, that will be something I expect from him.
Yes.
So very
Well,
tricky
he's
to play.
also got plenty in reserve, right?
Yeah.
Right. Like Beatflitz and Glaba kind of showed their hands a little earlier. But with that, you want to go over the matchups for the week 2?
Yeah, give me the
Like
prediction
go
for
ahead.
Slammer and versus Square Root. If we are on the
Oh, okay.
predictions already, give me the predictions for Slammer versus Square Root.
Sure.
What do you think?
Sure. So this is a little spoiled. I'll give
Yeah,
it
okay,
to
we see
everyone in
already.
chat who can hear.
Yeah, we do
Yeah.
already
Well, that
know.
Gandhi is 2-0 over Guy in chat. And then Deontep is 2-1 over Highlander Ghost. I don't know enough about Deontep and Highlander Ghost. All I know about Deontep is that Deontep has been in chat, in the Discord chat, and I've seen them around in
Yep.
game more often. So I would have favored them purely on that level.
Mhm.
But now, Gyarados versus Guinness. So if we go to week 1, right, just think about this. When we look at Guinness, he showed that he was adept at dealing with cheese and dishing out cheese against Yummy Blah Blah. And I don't think Gyarados showed anything special in their game against Matthew N, right?
Yeah, they were. I mean, Gyarados was just better.
Yeah, that's what I mean, right? I'm not saying Gyarados was bad. You said it perfectly consciously. I think he just showed that he was better. So I don't really have any sense of stand up, straight up games from Guinness, but I do from Gyarados. All I'll say is this: if Guinness does what happened in the Slammer series, where game 1 he's losing, but he just makes a werewolf and it's gonna be okay, and then he counter cheeses in game 2, I think Gyarados is gonna take him to the cleaners and rinse him like dishes in the kitchen. Like I don't think it's gonna go well, but I do think this will be I think this will be a 2-1 for Guinness.
All right.
Only because I don't know. I think Guinness is so far above Matthew that Gyarados is going to run into more resistance. And again, expertly coached under Square Root and comes from a StarCraft background, but Guinness has been in Little Wargame for a while, and there are some things that you don't know to teach or that maybe the muscle memory doesn't quite help with.
Yeah.
So I think Guinness will win 2-1. And then if we go down to also the map is Acadia, which
Beast favorite,
kind of
100%.
yeah, exactly. So I'm like, gonna send it to Guinness. Stronghold Fabius. So the thing is that I know B-Sherm plays a lot.
Yeah.
I haven't really seen much for Hydra.
Oh, Hydra
problem
plays
I
a lot
have-
as well.
Yeah. The problem I have with Hydra, the problem I have here rather with the game plan for B-Sherm is that Stronghold Fabius looks a lot like I think it's Agria Colony or Antigua Shipyard, the
Mm.
old StarCraft map, and it looks like Karnak, the old little war
Yeah.
game map.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know, it's got two bases on the right hand side, and then there's a short air distance between both of them, and an insanely long attack path over on the left hand side, and a pretty open attack path on the middle side. So what that means is the game is gonna get to a long, weird game,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, I actually think that Hydra might win this one. Again, it's 2-1, but the map it's because of the map. I think Bisharm beats Hydra most of the time. I think this map in particular, with being punished for the lack of vision in your main because of the fast drops, and then how fast drops can hit on that map,
Mm.
and then the fact that the attack paths are so long. Now, if this were, again, I want to give the context consciously. If they weren't on Stronghold Fabius, but they were on Cursed Temple,
Mm.
which is just Stronghold Fabius turned 90 degrees, by the way. But if, like, no, really, seriously, look at those two maps. You'll
Yeah,
never
yeah,
see
no,
them the
they were
same
very
again.
similar. Yeah, yeah, they were very
Yeah, yeah.
similar.
So if this map was Cursed Temple, I think Bisharm wins 2-0.
Just
But
because he played
because this
more on
map,
it. Mm.
yes, but because this map is Stronghold Fabius 2, there's a lot you have to kind of work with if you weren't playing Karnak back in the day, and if you don't think of it as just a turned Cursed Temple. And I think the weirdness actually favors Hydra. Because think about it, what's the advantage of playing a lot of little wargame? You know little wargame
Yeah.
units, you know little wargame maps.
Yeah.
This is a fairly underexplored map that
Mm.
invites a lot of macro games
Yeah.
or death by quick drops that use high APM.
But
So
have you
yeah, I'm
seen
gonna
the
give it.
games from Hydra and Speedy Boza from week 1?
Okay.
Have you taken a look at?
No,
Good
no,
games.
no. I
Okay.
have not.
Then
What
we
happened
will
though?
yeah we just cast them and then you will see, and maybe that changes your idea about Hydra, because Hydra is this top 50 GM kind of fluke from the draft, right? So Square Root here kind of picked the Joker, so to say, and just was like, well, I will try to get him to play a lot. And I think Beatflitz, or was it Glaba, who said that Hydra, he's not expecting someone who is top 50 GM to play a lot of different games than StarCraft 2. And jokes on him, Hydra is putting in the work. I see him a lot online and I see him play a lot. So Hydra is actually putting in the work, and not just ranked games, but he's also playing with Gandhi and Gyarados and even with Square Root. And that shows me that one, there is a lot of potential for Hydra to get good really, really quickly. And with Square Root as his mentor, I mean, come on, what else did we do we expect? And he really showed that versus Speedy Bozar, I think. Speedy Bozar is someone who is, I think, playing a lot more than Hydra, or was playing a lot more, and also he's more like on some, yeah, he's more technical. It's hard to explain, but he's more like a math guy, right? So he
Yes.
counts, and he's on building build order perfection and stuff, and also creativity. So Speedy Bozar, we will just watch the games and then you will see. So Speedy Bozar with a very different approach, and Hydra just with mechanics, kind of won the games, like pure game
Okay.
sense
Do
and
you,
mechanics. So I expect him to really put a fight versus Bisharm. So maybe Hydra wins even 2-0. I can imagine it.
okay. Do you think he looked better in the win over Speedy Bozar than B Sherm looked over Caster?
Yeah,
Because
100%.
really, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
Sedo Kester. I mean, he's my mate, right? He's my bro and stuff. But he was, I think, 2 weeks he wasn't playing Little Wargame at all. He logged in under guest accounts and played one round or something like that, but that's it. So he had a very busy schedule up until I think yesterday or so. So he could not really play at all, and it really showed. I mean, he was ahead with
oh,
three
is he one of those
base.
people that has to grind a ton of games to keep his form? Like, if he
Yes,
stops playing for a week, does he just fall
yes.
off a cliff?
Yes,
Okay,
Sato really needs the practice and to stay in practice. And Bisharm was just capitalizing on the fact that Sato Kester was so out of shape. And Sato Kester was up in one game, for example, 3 base versus 2 base, and he just he just didn't push. So she just, I mean,
Okay, that's one way to lose a game.
yeah,
That's that's one
really,
way to lose a game.
yeah. So really, I would not. I mean, not to talk bad about Bisham or whatever, but I really favor Hydra in this matchup here.
Okay. Now the next one, you've got to give New Type the 2-0, right? Like even his profile says he hates mech and loves fireballs,
Mm.
and he's up against Wiggy. And the thing about Wig, right, is that okay, rank doesn't mean everything, but it means a lot more now with more people
Yes,
playing ranked
yes,
and more
yes.
people in the pool. And when you see that New Type has a positive game win rate, like over 50%,
Mm.
and they're in Div 2, 130 MMR,
Mm.
and then you see Wig is got like a 33, like a 34, 35% win rate,
Mm.
and has an MMR that is literally 180 points lower. I don't see, like, even if Wig comes out with the most goated mech build ever on Thieves Isle, which you can do double mill on Thieves Isle,
Yeah.
and maybe he could tilt New Type. I think tilted New Type while drunk still wins against Wig. Like I don't see, like, Wig would have to be an absolute like he would just have to have the worst case of ladder
Yeah.
anxiety and be
Yeah.
the goat of practice.
Yeah.
He would just have to be like G2 esports practice in LEC 2015, right? Like he
Yeah,
would
yeah,
just have to be the best. I
yeah.
don't see how this works out for Wiggy.
I honestly don't know Wiki that much, and also don't know New Type that much. So I just believe you here. And I also
Okay.
favor, just from the stats and the ranking profile. I would favor New Type here, but that would mean that we have New Type winning his series, Guinness winning his series, and then we have Hydra versus Bisham where it's kind of split. You say 2-1 for one of them, I say 2-0. So I think that's a very, very close
Yeah.
week for these people.
Yeah. I think
Um,
Slammer's team wins 8-7, but think about what we've been talking about here. Like if it goes the other way, because remember, a 2-0 is 3 points, but
yeah,
if you win 2-1, it's only 2 points.
yeah.
So like it could be, I think Slammer's team wins 8-7, but
Mm.
it could be like a 10-6 or something in favor of Square Root's team.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really,
It could
really, really interesting games.
9-6. It could be a 9-6. Yeah, so it's
Mm.
either an 8-7 win for Slammer's team or a 9-6 win for Square Root's team. I don't really see how it goes any other way.
Yeah.
If it does, I'll be watching the games. Like that seems really interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm also with you on this one. It can go either way, and it will be definitely close. I think will not be as one-sided as versus Weird Red in week one for Square Root. But let's talk about the last match: Team Nigat versus
Yes.
Team Glaba. I would start on the bottom, not to spoil the fun. Hollow Knifer versus Lily B. I think Lily B is currently not around, not playing that much. And I also didn't see Hollow Knifer in the last 2 days, I think. But maybe that's me being online only for a few hours. What do you think?
So the thing with Lillaby is that Lillaby is a cheeser. Lillaby, like, could change their name to two. They will two den you. They will two racks you. If it was viable, they would double forge you. And the thing is, while it feels like a one note, it is a very good one note,
Hmm.
and I think that even if that person is very out of practice, and even though Team Nigat should have the scouting intel, should have the knowledge that, yeah, this is just gonna be a cheese. Like we can sniff it. We can sniff it from, it's Team Glaba, so they're already Team Cheese. And what's that over there? Just collecting and craft packaging. It's, oh, yep, it's some fresh American cheese. Like, even if they know that that's happening, I still think that Lillaby has played enough of these two racks or proxy two racks, proxy two den
Hmm.
scenarios that you can feel like you're doing the right thing and then still lose and get overwhelmed.
Yeah,
And then they don't instantly lose the game, even if they're blind scouted or countered,
yeah,
right? Even if you just say, well, I'll just throw down a tower
yeah,
to tell you I know what you're doing,
yeah,
they can still play the rest of the game way better than you would expect for someone who is the fifth ring of matches.
Yeah.
So I just think it's a 2-0 for Lily B. I don't really. If Hollow Knifer gets a win, that is impressive.
Okay.
That'll say a lot to me about who they are.
Yeah, I actually think it goes 2-1 to Lily B. I can see Hollow Knife
Okay.
win a map. I think I've seen him play and was okay. Nothing too special, but maybe on the niveau or skill of Lily B or Mimia. This guy Mimia is also some like new guy cheesing a lot, or the fighter or on this level. Like that's where I see
Yes.
Hollow Knifer. So it's okay. I think Lily B is on the same level, just doing a more predictable play style with the cheese. So yeah, I see 2-1 for Lily B just because there's more practice with this 2 and stuff. Yeah, what do you think about Medurk versus JN? Now I'm interested. I think I
Oh,
lost to JN just recently because I tried to cheese
yes.
him.
He's harder to cheese. I've played him a lot in ranked games. What I will say is that he plays a lot of racks, and his racks is very much the standard prototypical racks. Like, I'm gonna do a 1 racks and I'm gonna make 2 raiders, and then I'm going to get a 2nd racks and I'm gonna make archers, and I'm gonna push across the, oh wait, no I'm not, and then I'm going to go get a 3rd, I'm gonna add all of the tech, and then we're gonna play a standard game from there.
Yeah.
They like their mages.
Mm.
The problem is for both of these players is that week 1 doesn't really tell you much. And I've also played Madurg on ladder and experienced that as well.
Mhm.
I will say, so these are people that are in my wheelhouse.
Mm.
I've seen them play. I've played against them. What I'll say against both of them is that they don't really, they haven't really had an opportunity to show much.
Mhm.
I mean, Madurg lost to Joshers, but Joshers is a mech player and is kind of way too strong to be at this position,
Yeah.
right? Team Beatflitz really scored a win getting this player this deep in the draft.
Yeah.
It's actually a crazy good pickup. And then on the other side, yeah, I call him Jay Blanken or JN, right? But because Jay Blinken, you get it? It's a joke. So
Yeah.
Jay Blinken over here. Winning 2-0 over new type is like but you just should, right? Like I just expect that
Is
of you.
JN so much better
Um,
than new type?
in my mind, better enough. I think it's something Hobo used to talk about. It's Lancaster's law. So if you and I have different styles and we fight, that's an interesting fight,
Mhm.
right? But if you're 5%, but if we fight the same way, but you're a little bit better in everything, right?
Mm.
You're a little bit faster, you've got a little bit more technique, you've got a little bit more stamina,
Mm.
then guess what? It's not an even fight anymore. I get completely destroyed
Mm.
because there's no angle I can fight on.
Mm.
Um, and so I think that's what happened against New Type. And so when we look at Madurg versus Jay Blanken, the problem I have is I've seen Madurg play multiple styles. I don't know if Jay Blanken has multiple styles in the wheelhouse, right?
Mm.
Every game, rain or shine, every map, they play they when I was playing in ranked anyways, they would play the same way. Now you could say that's because they're practicing a more, fundamental mechanical build to improve, but they didn't seem to act differently based on what the map was. Now I will say, if you always go 1 racks raider into 2 racks and an archer push to see what your opponent is doing, they're doing it on Xenos. What a great map to have that game plan on, because the
Yeah.
map is so narrow,
Yeah.
right? The attack path is narrow, so it's great for the Rax player to go down the center. It's a short map, so you don't actually get punished for doing that
Yeah.
as hard. Like this, I almost want to say Jay Blanken 2-1, or 1. It's hard, man. It's
But look at Medurk. Medurk
almost.
is a player where I think Medurk really kind of um, is fluctuating in skill. You know what I mean? If you take a look at his ranked games, he lost the game versus New Type. He won versus Deontep, and he won versus Zelos. Multiple times. He won versus Hydra. Just 2 or 3 days ago. So, man, Medurk is really hard to predict, man. I think there's chances Medurk wins versus you. It's very hard to say. I would not count him out of it. And I haven't seen anything fancy from JN. So if, for example, Midurk has just a nice day, just a good day, for example, I think there's a clean 2-0 for Midurk.
Yeah, so you're saying it's more we'll figure out what they show up as.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's like the daily form, so to say.
Okay. Yeah. And when we look, I'm with you on this one. The problem I have is that I think it's not a 2-0 either direction because Jay Blanken, at least for the first map on Xenos, is going to be solid. If he loses on Xenos, if Jay Blanken loses on Xenos, then it's a 2-0 from a Dirk. I don't really see how that gets better because Jay Blanken does seem to have the same style all the time. I just think that that same style is really good on Xenos and against a player whose form is here today and somewhere else tomorrow. I think it's at least going to be one game for Jay Blanken. And then I guess I don't want to predict a 2-0, so let's just see. I'll say 2-1 Jay Blanken only because I give because if Jay Blanken wins Xenos, Madura gets to pick the map, and then we might see more depth or more like what they're feeling like on the day.
I see. Okay, so let's move on. So Stevie Nader versus Sadocaster. What do you think?
I think Stevenator is gonna do a great job. So Sadocaster lost 0-2 to B Sherm, right? And nothing against B Sherm. But if we look at who Stevenator was fighting that same week in week 1, Stevenator went 1-2 against ItchJ. And I favor Stevenator. I favor ItchJ to kind of clean up B Sherm. Like, he's one of those people who's Div 1, but it's not because he was farming a bunch of people who were new to the game. He's like legitimately Div 1, excellent pickup.
Yeah.
You know, people, Beatflitz was celebrating when he got him. And then AC's team was celebrating when they got Stevenator, and Stevenator still lost to this It's Jay, but made it compelling, and AC rates him very highly. I don't see how this works out for Sadocaster at all. I think this will be even harder for Sadocaster than the week they fought B Sherm. I think it's a 2-0 for Stevenator.
Yeah, I fear that Sado will go without a map win again versus Stevie Nader this week. But I can see Sado win. Maybe Yami shows him some nice build orders and stuff, and they can refine it, and Sado can just get the practice in. And maybe he can kind of surprise Stevie Nader here, especially on a map like Altitude, where it's very, very mech favored, I would say. And maybe Sado can just play something very, very very nice, nasty drops or something. And if he practices with the player like Yami or blah blah, or Glaba, then he can really, really refine this game or this one map and his plan. And I think then Stevie Nader can be in trouble and even lose it. So my hopes is that Seto will take a map, but I fear and think that Stevie Nader goes unbeaten here with the 2-0.
Fair enough. So on to the next one as we're getting further and further up the excitement train. Are you ready?
Oh, yes.
So Salen versus Zelos. Now, are you ready for some spice?
That's the banger match. Either way. Yeah, just go for it. Give it to me.
Zelos and Salen, Salen's last 2 ladder games are against Zelos, went 1-1.
Yeah, it's a banger series. They're really good both.
That's pretty good. Like, who is Zelos losing to? Dragon Archer Z, possibly the GOAT, right? Lost 2 games to AC. He'll never have to fight AC, right? Because AC is 1 tier above him in terms of the pick, right?
Yeah.
He's actually, like, by the way, watch out for Der Steph because he's also beating Zelos.
Yeah.
And Zelos is sitting in Gamma right now.
Yeah.
So the thing is that, again, we don't have much to go off of for both of these players. I mean, in pure ranking, Zelos is a tier above.
Yeah.
He's literally a tier above.
Yeah.
But also, like, Salen beat Der Steph 2-0 on Jade Wadi, and Salen has been having Der Steph's number in ranked recently anyways, so that's not, that impressive last week. And then Zelos versus Slammer 4 was just a swap to make something happen. right? So that Glaba could go down and get the guy in chat. So the only way I think Zelos wins 2-1.
Oh,
And
really?
but I've been seeing Salen play more. And the thing is too is that I believe there were some timing or questions of ability to show up for Zelos, right? So that might cause internal stress or problems for Team Glaba, which is why, I think Zelos is still, we'll see. My initial indication, I haven't looked into him that deeply, is that Zelos is better than Salen, right?
But only marginally.
But yeah, but only marginally, and it's more that I think that's going to be enough to get the wins, but it won't be enough to get a 2-0. And obviously, if anything happens like in week 1 and Celos can't play or there are delays in getting the timing, then if you're Team Glaba, you'll have to be really upset because this is a matchup that you're kind of expecting to get at least some points out
Yeah,
of, right?
yeah,
I think
100%.
Zelos wins at least one game, and I've got nothing else except recent ladder history and then watching a couple of games of them. I think Zelos, if he shows up, wins 2-1.
Yeah, I have seen Zaylen practice against good players, and he really goes into longer games with them, and that shows his ability. So, of course, I think Zelos is someone who's really grinding right now, and he's very, very high skilled in StarCraft 2. And that means that a player of his caliber with a lot of practice is gonna get better, and his skill ceiling is a bit higher than that of other players. But Salen is not a grandmaster of himself. He's maybe not as high in the MMR StarCraft 2 as Zelos, but the mechanics and stuff is literally the same. And the difference in skill is very, very minor. So I can see it go either way. 2-1 for Zaylen, 2-1 for Zelos. Can go either way. Everything except a 2-1 would kind of disappoint me, because one of these players then really has to kind of not be on his game. And for Team Niget to catch up to Beatflit's team, I would like to have Salen win.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Well, I've got good news for you then if you're a Team Negat fan, because the last matchup, the big one, is AC versus Yummy Blah Blah.
Yeah, and AC is
Now,
favorite. Yeah.
I think AC will win 2-0.
Ooh.
And the only way I think, because the thing is, right, when Yummy came back, when you think of that name and the tournament placements they had and
Yeah,
all the
yeah,
practice
yeah,
that he was putting in, you'd have expected more than two kind of cursed looking cheese games against Guinness,
yeah.
right? You kind of would have expected him to drag the game out and say, "How's it going?" Also, the one downside I've put on AC repeatedly through this has been AC is a dev and he's doing community work, and he's also playing, and now he's a team coach. What does that mean for all of his time?
Mm.
But AC has been on alts or on his main pretty actively,
Yeah.
more so than Yummy.
And
And so the
practicing
one
with his
advantage,
players. Like, he's also practicing
yes,
with all the guys, so he's really putting in the work.
yes, yes, absolutely. And I think Glaba picked Yummy Blah Blah that highly. He said in the view that he picked them because it's someone he could work with, someone he thought was a known quantity that they could respect each other and talk and
Mm.
work together.
Mm.
I don't think I don't think AC needed to think about Negat in the slightest to want to be motivated to do well in this event.
Mm.
Right? And the one thing you could say against him is that he wouldn't have as much time, or maybe his time would be diffused. Yummy doesn't look like, by all accounts, that he's playing enough for that to make up the difference or to
Mm.
shake off the rust.
Mm.
He would have to have a phenomenal turnaround. So I think just in terms of the names, it'll be cool to see these two run it back. But in terms of the actual, you know, result of the games, I think AC just packs them away. I think
Mm.
AC goes and he takes out his camper. He goes out for the weekend. He brings the extra campfire. Oh, look, he's got a package of hot dogs. One of them is named Yummy Glabla. He's just gonna Yummy. He's just gonna roast him over a campfire. It's gonna be bad.
Yeah, but you also, if you take a look at the lobby who's online right now, it's Yummy and Glaba, and I think they also play with AC currently, or AC is playing with Bisham actually. So you see, these players are all online and talking to each other and playing games with each other. So they kind of put in the work, and I can see Yummy winning games here, honestly. I can see him take a map off AC, because AC already showed that he can drop maps to players who are definitely not favored against him, like Heavy, for example. He dropped the map versus Heavy straight up, due to a very, very minor issue and mistake. And I think Yummy is at least as good as Heavy currently. He just chooses to play cheese, which is kind of a hindrance for himself. Like he's shooting himself in the foot and starts then running against the others. So that's kind of the issue here. So I would love to see Yami actually go into longer games. Maybe switch things up, have some crazy ideas about build orders, and do certain things differently, and just try to win the game in other ways than just cheesing players and kind of relying on their mistakes in handling the cheese or countering the cheese or reacting to cheese. So yeah, I think if Glaber can, I don't know, kind of get Yami to perform and to be, I don't know, more eager maybe to win games and maps, then Yami can be very scary and even take a map off AC. So now the question is, will Yami do that? Will Glaber succeed in getting Yami to be more interested and motivated? And I think Glaber will do so. So I say that Yami at least takes a map of AC.
Right. So this breaks two ways as well, right? So you could say, because I've known that Yummy and some other players are like this, they'll just cheese you if they don't think it's worth a full game, right? They just
Mm.
want to win this one quickly and get on with the next one. And I feel like one way that I'm not leaning into it too hard, but it's possible. One way you could interpret the last series that Yummy had against Guinness is that in game one he didn't respect him, and then like, oh no, werewolves are actually really strong. He didn't expect that, and then he loses the game,
Mm.
right? And he did it because, oh, I don't, why I should just beat you. So let's get this on with. And then in game two he ran back the cheese, which makes me think that he still thought, oh, but you're not actually, you know, you're not that crazy good. So it's fine. I can do it again. And then he lost. So the one benefit though, if you are that kind of player, if you have that mentality that I'm just gonna get these easy games out of the way, I'm just gonna cheese you because it's not worth it. Yummy and AC have played a lot of games together, right?
Yes.
There is definitely, of all the people here, like some of these new names, maybe Yummy doesn't know them or follow them or think highly of their skill, or they're an old name that's improved dramatically, and he's
Yeah.
like, whatever, I'll just put you away. It's fine. It's moving day. Put you in a box, send you on your way. He's not going to do that with AC, right? If
No, no,
he
no.
goes at AC, this will be a real teller for what Yummy is going to be like for the rest of the Pro League. Because if he just double cheeses AC, someone he's played a ton of games with, someone he knows the history of, then that just says that, like, okay, maybe Yummy is here because he wants to be here, but he doesn't want to be here in
Mm.
the team league anyways
Well,
that
last
badly.
season, last ProLeague season, Yami was also participating, and he actually played AC there as well, and he cheesed him 2 times, and he
Okay.
failed miserably. The games were not even 8 minutes long, like two
Yep.
times. So
Yep.
yeah, that was very underwhelming. And since he did the same versus Guinness, and it kind of went the same way, it was also kind of underwhelming. So I expect something more out of Yami, and maybe it's just my hope. Like I'm just
You want some copium,
yeah,
yes. Yeah.
I'm just
You want to
optimistic
see
maybe.
old Yummy, right?
Yeah,
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 you want to
yeah,
see cool long games with Yummy, not
yeah.
this like new Yummy that just two Raxes or two Dens people. No, I'm
Yes.
with you. It's just if he does that, I'll be pleasantly surprised. If
Mm,
I'll put it this way, if Yummy doesn't cheese, I think AC wins 2-0 or maybe 2-1, but I'm still leaning towards 2-0, but at least the games are more exciting, more
yeah,
respectable.
yeah.
But if I think about what he's done recently and all of this cheesing, if he does that against AC and AC has done any scouting, right?
Mm,
Then he's just gonna blast him away,
yeah,
right? I
yeah,
don't think it'll go well.
yeah. 100%. Okay, so that kind of concludes um our predictions and our
Yeah.
recap. Nice
Do you
talking
want to
to
do a
you.
quick? Okay, just to line it up. Do you want to do a quick like? Oh, we talked about each individual matchup. You want to do very quickly like your one line thoughts on who wins this week? Nigat versus Glaba. Like which team you think
I
wins?
think Negan wins this.
Yep, I think Negat wins this as well. Slammer 4 versus Square Root of -1.
I think Slammer wins this.
I think Slammer wins this 8-7, or Square Root wins it 9-6.
Yeah.
And then we do have to say Beat Flitz versus Weird Rat.
Beeflets. I see
Yeah.
no other way.
Okay, I agree. Beat Flitz. If Team Weird Rat wins this one,
Oh
by
my
the
god,
way,
this will be the upset of the tournament.
his coaching brain is way too massive if he does this.
Yes.
If he pulls
Yeah.
it off. He's
Yeah.
just way too smart. All right, yeah, but that's it.